Welcome to Real Herbalism Radio, show 272, recorded at Big Dog Studios in Eugene, Oregon. This show is made possible by One Pod Design House. Did you know that a website is supposed to help make you money? Truth is, most sites don't. Not because they don't work, but because they are not optimized to be seen by the customers looking for your services. We connect your website to your customers. Visit us at onepoddesign.com. The Real Herb Market. Herbal makers of all sorts are finding their place here at the Real Herb Market. The array of artisan herbal products is growing daily. You'll find only products made by a real herbalist with real, all-natural ingredients and all made by hand at the Real Herb Market. Check it out at www.therealherbmarket.com. This is our last show for the first half of 2021. We're taking our annual summer hiatus break. This year, the Practical Herbalist team will be working on a couple of new offerings and making updates to the website. We'll be back talking herbs in August. Until then, we hope you get into the garden, play with some plants, and make a little herbal delight. Plants create a kind of connection many of us crave, even when we don't realize it. When you step out into nature, that connection happens, and it even heals the places we didn't know were hurt. Today we're talking with Rebecca Ingalls, herbalist at Palmer Pond Botanicals and psychotherapist at Swampscott's Counseling, about the healing and joy you can find in a community garden. Now here are your hosts.
I'm Candace Hunter.
I'm Patrick Hunter.
And welcome to Real Herbalism Radio. Hey, Rebecca, welcome back.
Hi, Candace. Hi, Patrick.
Hello.
Okay, so it's spring and I'm starting to think about gardening, and the first thing I thought of was you.
Oh, so sweet. Oh, I have been excited for this ever since last fall.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So you have to fill folks in on the community garden that you are, and I would say, personally, an absolute instrumental part. They couldn't survive without you part of the garden working, but, you know, you can actually correct me if I'm wrong.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm a founding director of New Hall Fields Community Farm in Peabody, Massachusetts. And that is a project I got into, in April of 2018.
Yeah.
A little interesting side story, since I met you, Candace, through BNI, and I know Patrick's in BNI, Business Networking International.
Yes.
And I was promoting myself as a community herbalist in that group, and at the time I wanted to do more community programs, and so I had a program that I did 4 times a year. It was called Staying Healthy with the Seasons. And I would bring it, and to that group. We met on Thursday mornings, and there was a woman there who was somehow affiliated with the Peabody Library here in Peabody we're just north of Boston, and she brought it to her director at the library, and they wanted me to come and do that program for the community at the library. And so I did that, and I met a woman who had been wanting to get something going on this piece of property that was owned by the city of Peabody. It was a farm that they had purchased, and there was certain restrictions on the deed, and it had to do with the property can only be used for education, agriculture, and conservation. And her idea was to start a community farm there. And there was already a farm stand on the property, but she approached me after that herb class. She thought maybe we could put an herb garden there on the farm. So she approached me that spring to do that. And of course, because I said yes.
Yes,
because that's one thing I had wanted to do, is to find more land or work with communities to grow more herbs that are local. Nothing against mountain rose herbs. I love mountain rose herbs. But I was thinking it would be so nice to use plants that grow here with us in our neck of the woods. So was something I had wanted to do. And there it was. I walked out. This is, I think the whole property is about 17 acres. But the land for agriculture is closer to probably under 10 acres. Mm-hmm. And so we mapped out this plot for the inaugural herb garden, and
been growing strong ever since.
What a trip. Wow. So we, struggled through trying to get plants, get some irrigation. We didn't have water that first year. It was like driving over with gallon jugs of water and planting herbs. That summer was so hot. Yeah. We had a lot of 100-degree days, and but that's the beauty of these herbs. Like and we were able to get a lot of donations. So this was started on $0. Right. $0. Just a lot of elbow grease, digging in. And I took a lot of transplants from my yard and I had started other herb gardens around the North Shore here. And so, yeah, we got that started, and we'd have volunteers come out, and it's just so fun turning them on to the aromatic plants, especially the way it's laid out. We made beautiful paths, and, we wanted people to interact. We wanted it to be real dynamic, and, children, we wanted children to come and wander the paths. We made a couple of little mazes. Oh, fun. And, some beautiful plant. We basically took any herbs that people would donate, and against all odds, they grew. Like, they didn't have a lot of water, they didn't have a lot of care. But this is what I love about this kind of farming and this work, is that they're perennials. They're so resistant and resilient, and they kept coming back. Yeah. So this last season, 2020, was the third year. It was our third summer there, and it is just going wild.
So what are some of the most popular herbs that are out there, like the ones that really notice people really stopping at or commenting on?
Well, there's a whole border of chives. And and they bloom right in the spring. So they've got the beautiful little, purple pom-poms on the top. And so people are drawn to them, and then they find out they're chives, and they want to cut them and bring them home and use them in their eggs, for instance, or to make a chive. I teach people how to make a chive vinegar, where you just take the blossoms and it turns the vinegar a beautiful rosy color. And so delicious. Yes. And then later in the season, there's also, along the same border, the garlic chives, which are beautiful white flowers. Yes. And they were covered with honeybees all August. Just gorgeous. So the culinary herbs people are drawn to, because I think sometimes people can be a little intimidated by, how you've heard people talk about the wall of green. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just all green. We can't separate out what one plant is from the other. And sometimes I think people think they ought to know before they've even met the plants. And so I think there's a comfort in saying, oh, sage, I know that. I use that in my turkey stuffing. And the culinary herbs. So
the sage and the rosemary and the thyme are all very easily recognizable, at least from their scent. I mean, even people that don't do tons of cooking usually recognize, oh, that's like spaghetti. Those are the herbs for spaghetti.
Yes, exactly. You're exactly. And the cilantro and the other, garlic and things like that are known. They know the look of them. They know the smell of them. And then for me, it's been fun to weave in, because of that, the valerian, the skullcap, I planted costmary this year. This is a whole new one for me. Just an exquisite scent. Hibiscus. What else? Blue vervain is doing so well. And of course, the calendula, the whole garden is just surrounded by just calendula that blooms. It's still bloom. It was still blooming.
Yeah. When my son was little, that was one of his favorites. And out here, our winters are mild enough that oftentimes I've seen calendula bloom through the entire year. I mean, you just get a couple blossoms through the really cold months, but it's amazing how resilient that plant is.
Yeah, it really wants to push through. It's so giving too, and the number of seeds.
Oh gosh, yes.
It's so giving, and yeah, it's so fun to touch those blossoms and feel how soft they are. And the doctrine of signatures says, oh man, touching this, I know this is good for my skin. Yes. And then when you get the resin on your fingers, you wow, this is, and it's so fun to use that process to teach people. Like, I'm forever saying, touch, smell, touch, smell.
Yes, yes.
And they don't know what's happening to them.
Right.
But touch, smell is, if you can get someone out into the herb garden to touch and smell and just be with the plants for a little while.
Yeah.
Subtle shifts are happening.
Yes.
Like Patrick said in the introduction, that you might not even know are occurring. Yeah. And healing is happening on it's a subliminal, unconscious, the realm that the plants operate in.
Right. It's like you can watch the stress just start to drain away. The harried mom with the two kids that are kind of going all over the place. She's trying to rein them in. And then they have a chance to play with the calendula, and you watch her shoulders relaxing as her kids become engaged in something. And she can just let go for a few moments, Yeah.
And the kids, you know what, you wonder, because I remember my Aunt Marcy, when I had my first home. It was on Martha's Vineyard, and we were going to plant a garden. And, I was just, oh gosh, what was I, 21, 22? And so I didn't have a lot of money for plants. And I remember I was visiting my aunt, and she had a vegetable garden, but she had herbs in it too. She had rhubarb, and she had rhubarb. What I know is rhubarb, mint, oregano, and thyme, which she dug into the earth and separated out the roots and put them in pots for me. Oh. And said that, you can just plant and it was the first time I learned about being able to divide out plants like that.
Nice.
And, I didn't know at the time that I would be teaching others how to do that, and that I have to keep remembering that this is new. Like when someone sees that, pull up that, you like that chocolate mint, you can just pull that right up and you'll get a little root, and you can bring that home to your yard. Yeah,
just look for this little, the little root buds or the little tiny, it doesn't take much.
It doesn't take much. And these herbs, they want to be with us.
Oh, yeah.
They want to be part of our lifestyle and our everyday life. They want to be in our tea and in our vinegar and in our salads.
Yes, they want to permeate us as much as we want to permeate them, really.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. And especially during COVID, I mean, I was I think last spring, moving into the COVID-19 season, when we were on lockdown here, and I was thinking, wow, it was a little scary. And I was thinking about those herbs, and that time was just pushing up in April. And I thought, oh gosh, okay, we've got plenty of time for thyme steams. We've got rosemary. We've got loads of sage. And okay, well, we need more of these community herb gardens, because people were contacting me through my botanical shop, Palmer Pond Botanicals, and wanting, herbs, because they were putting in their order at Mountain Rose and other.
Oh yeah. And everything was sold out.
Yeah. I think they were out of stock, or they had to wait, over 4 weeks to get their orders.
Weeks upon weeks. Yeah.
So it became clear to me that I love this kind of community herbalism in terms of, I love the teaching, but this is a whole new realm where we're gardening together. We're on our hands and knees in the soil, in interacting with these plants. And I just imagine that every community, every township here on the North Shore has a substantial herb garden, not only in people's backyards, but maybe for people who don't have yards. Like, I think it should be accessible to all people.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who need to live in high rises, for instance, or apartment complexes, because it's affordable and it's reasonable and it's close to where they need to work or accessible for them. They should have access to the plants too.
To be able to go. I mean, that's what's so cool about this space for that community, is that people can go out there to the herb garden and they can learn and they can be with the herbs. And so I'm so excited for this coming season and to expand on that program and be able to bring it to other communities.
So considering, I mean, you had 2 years without COVID, then you had last year with COVID. How did the COVID experience and the masks and everything else that came with the pandemic, how did that change being in the community garden for you?
Well, like everything, it had its upsides and downsides. So part of the downside was that we couldn't invite in, because of the city mandates, we couldn't invite in
groups,
the volunteers initially. And then slowly when we did open it up for volunteers, we had to go through these protocol and very rigid requirements. We had to have masks. We had to be a distance apart. We had to wash, either wear gloves and wash down the tools, or ask people to bring their own tools. The previous 2 years, we had the master gardeners come work too, which is,
that's huge.
It was helpful.
Yeah.
So, because a lot of our other programs and volunteers might be people who have not, and we want it to be this way, people who might not typically be in a garden or at a farm.
Right.
And they're just learning. So they need a lot of supervision.
Yes.
We've had plant casualties. I hate to see my little babies pulled up, but it does happen, and that's part of the process. So we didn't have that many volunteers. And the upside of that is that I had some time to be in the garden. It was time for transplanting and building out the garden a little bit. And I had some time to do that, to be able to take off my mask out there and do some work. It was solitary, but I found it very, very important to my sanity and my mental health to be able to do that. I felt so fortunate. And the other thing that happened is I had an herbal apprentice who contacted me and wanted to find out if I needed help in the garden. So she would come out, and then she brought her name's Angelica, and then she brought her friend Amy, and then she brought her friend John. And then I had another student, Casey, who came out. And so it was this little core group, and they worked alongside of me. And I seem to really like that form of teaching, where I'm just doing what I do.
Yeah.
This kind of apprenticeship type of program, which just kind of evolved. It was very organic. There was no structure to it, really. Right. It was a text like, are you going to the garden? Yes. And so that worked out really well. And I realized that, okay, here are these 4 young people. They're all in their 30s, and they're passionate about this, and they see the value, and we very much want a kind of justice and equity, that everyone has the accessibility.
Right.
And so they also like the vision of expanding out and bringing this to other communities. So that's what I'm thinking about for this coming season, like because these herbs are so giving and so... Yes.
Well, and you always, I mean, if you plant anything from the mint family, within 2 years, you're going to have too many for the space. So you need to find another place.
And isn't that exciting? Yeah. To see these young people take what they've learned and then bring it and teach it. Because I think the teaching is the best way to learn. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
We're excited to announce that Yamaya's Apothecary is opening here at the Real Herb Market. Soulful and lovingly, Yamaya creates her selection of herbal remedies and self-care botanicals with you in mind. She gets how complex life can be, so she creates herbals that can truly support you through the messy parts. Yamaya's herbal products are like the hug you need just when you need it. Find them at therealherbmarket.com/shop/Yamaya's Apothecary.
Yeah, because it forces you to really get clear on levels that sometimes we learn really well and we're doing it. We know what we're doing, but we're not thinking, we haven't brought it to the really mental level, or, there's like another level that we haven't quite. And when you teach, you have to really know it at all those levels, because your students are going to ask questions.
Yeah. And thank goodness they do.
Yeah.
They ask questions. They spot things that I might not see.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always this unfolding. And one thing I have to say is, when we got on that land there at Newhall Fields, my first impulse when I got out there was, there's already so many herbs here. Like, we've got burdock, yellow dock, cleavers.
Yes.
We've got self-heal. We've got ramps. There's so much here. Nettles, stinging nettle.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, this has been part of that education is,
yes.
It looks wild and unkept, and being able to have that be part of the education too. We need these wild spaces.
Yes. Yeah.
And goldenrod, you know.
Yeah. Those are all the caretakers of the land when, we're not doing something else. They're the ones that help the land recover when we've done foolish things,
Exactly. And the mugwort everywhere, Artemisia vulgaris everywhere, just so. And, now we have a vegetable farmer, and she's like, cut that down.
And you're like, no.
Get the weeds out of here. Like, these are my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not. See, the thing is, funny is that the tomato plant in an herb garden is a weed.
Yeah. Total weed.
Whoa. That's deep, Patrick.
I got that lesson.
That is deep.
I got that lesson when, this is a funny story. I was in 6th grade, and we had a reading teacher whose name was Mr. Yapple, and we had the vocabulary test, right? And he said, and you have to do it verbally. And he asked, so Patrick, what's the definition of a weed? And I'd say what it is. And he said, okay, so is a rose a weed then? And then I said, well, no. Well, he said, well, what if the rose, by your definition, is growing in a place you don't want it to be? Well, it's a rose. It's not a weed. He says, no, that's a weed.
Yep.
So I've always remembered that.
So Yapple was right.
Yeah, if you want that awesome tomato plant in a tomato area, yeah, maybe the mugwort's a weed for you. But on the reverse of that, if you want mugwort, there's a tomato plant, that's a weed.
Yep.
I love that. That is so profound.
So, yeah, there you go.
I love that. I will use that.
Absolutely. So when your farmer goes, those are weeds, they're like, oh, no. Get your weeds out of here.
Well, even this volunteer, and I just met him this year, John, he is of Korean descent, and he's a young Korean man. And, you would appreciate that. He teaches, am I going to say the wrong thing? I think it's Taekwondo.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
That'd be my best guess.
That's
yeah.
Korean.
I know you have a background with that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a beautiful man. And so I had said to his friend Angelica, this mugwort is taking over here, and I had planted some dill. And so I'm like, can you weed this out of here? And he said, mugwort? You have mugwort? Oh my gosh, there's so much mugwort there.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, John, this is mugwort. And he came and he smelt it, and he's like, it smells like my childhood.
Yes.
He said, this is an essential ingredient in Korean cooking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he told, there's actually a creation story he told about, I think it was about mugwort and garlic. And someone going into a cave a bear going into a cave with mugwort and garlic. Now this could be totally botched, and coming out a human. It was like their creation story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here we are pulling up this weed, and he's like, can I take some home?
Dude.
I said, well, with a caveat. I mean, because it will take over.
Your neighbors might not like you, but go. Hey.
Yeah, but that speaks to what Patrick said. Like he was like so excited about it, and the smell just brought him right back to his childhood. It was beautiful. It was just a beautiful moment.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that. I love that. That is exactly the deep healing, the deep, like you didn't even know, it's one of those things you don't even know. And then there the plants are saying, hey, guess what?
Yeah.
we gotta fix for that. Let's do it.
So sweet. So sweet. And the two people who were working that day, Angelica and John, they didn't know each other that well. They had only recently met. And then as of the end of last season, they're a couple. It was so like cool. The first romance at the farm, and just
that's so cool.
So interesting, and how that developed, and so rewarding to be part of their journey and to be a mentor. Now that I'm in my 60s, it is okay. It's kind of cool being older.
Yeah.
And seeing the young people mature into this world, world of herbs, and they're interested in a lot of the things that you both do, like homesteading. About animals, and I even mentioned, this was just Saturday, Candace, I was talking about your geese.
Sweet Annie.
Yeah.
The goose.
Yeah. When I was looking for a name for Sweet Annie, I saw Sweet Annie doesn't actually grow in my yard. It's a little slightly more southern plant. It's an Artemisia, and it's a kin to the wormwood. So it's a similar type of, plant.
I just harvested a bunch of seeds today.
Nice.
I grew it.
Oh.
Artemisia annua.
Oh, yeah. So you might want to be mailing me a little bit of seeds, because I've been looking and I just haven't gotten a hold of any. But yeah, I saw the plant, and Sweet Annie declared right there, Sweet Annie is my name. And I understood in that moment all the protective nature of that plant. And I was like, oh, yes, that's your job on the farm. That's perfect. Sweet Annie happens to be a gander, but I don't mind.
It's very West Coast.
It's very West Coast.
Very. I love it, and I love Sweet Annie. Someone introduced me. There's a county or a country fair that takes place in Maine every fall, and someone brought me a bunch of Sweet Annie one year from that, and I'm like, I'm going to grow this. This is like, nothing smells like this. Yeah. So I got some seeds, I believe, from Richo. Check.
Nice.
And I love ordering my seeds from Richo.
Yeah, when I went to order the Sweet Annie, he was out already. It was last spring.
Yeah, he was out of a bit last year.
Yeah,
but I still got everything I needed. But the Sweet Annie, I will send you. I have tons of seeds.
Yay!
And it grew so beautifully. And I remember I was in the shop in my little cottage this was pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And I had all this Sweet Annie dried, and my friend Jen Young was there. She's an herbalist in Salem. And like, what am I going to do with all this? I mean, I just wanted it. Now I have all these bunches. So we hung them from the ceiling, and the whole cottage smelled like,
must have been glorious.
Oh, wow. I'm like, this like cleared the room. Like,
nice.
Felt so good. And she said, I'm going to take some of this home.
Nice.
And it was, this was December.
Oh, wow.
Of 2019. And then when, in researching COVID and finding out about some of that they had been researching Artemisia annua.
Nice.
As a remedy.
As a remedy. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the plants are they're so healing, and they're so resilient. And yeah.
Yeah. And giving.
And giving.
So giving.
Yeah.
So I love community gardens. I'm a big fan of like bringing, especially with the grocery shop. I think COVID-19 really drove that home, the importance of this project, and food justice is really big. We donate over, well, this year, a little smaller production. We donating well over 100 pounds of produce, fresh produce, first pick to our local food pantry, Haven from Hunger.
Nice.
And it just it feels really good. Really good. I think everyone ought to be able to have good, fresh food. There's no reason why we can't do this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true.
So does the farm have a website?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Patrick. It's newhallfieldscommunityfarm.org.
Okay.
And we just got our 501c3
congratulations.
last September.
So that also means that you can take donations. Do you have a donate button yet?
We have a donate button. We have a donate button. It's probably not up to your standards.
Oh, no, that's not what I was saying. I just
website.
The important part is it works.
It works.
It works.
It works. And we're happy for any donations. We are looking to hire a farmer for this coming season, a waged farmer.
That would be nice.
We have a woman who has worked with us consulting and helped us last year with the harvest. Her name is Hazel. And we really want to be able to pay her a good wage so we can keep her. She's so good working with, she's unbelievable with students and volunteers. So hopefully this season will bring more volunteers. Hopefully.
Sounds like you need a grant writer.
Yeah,
we do. We need so much. There's only 3 of us on the board, and 2 of us are working board members, and I am doing that volunteer work in addition to running my 2 businesses.
Right.
But I can't not do it.
Right.
I'm pulled in that direction. Yeah. Right, Candace?
Totally understand what you're talking about.
It's drawn me into its orbit.
You have to. You just have to do it at this point. You have to figure out how to make it work, because I've watched you. You have so much more joy now when you talk about even just your botanicals, your making products. You have so much more joy now than you did when I first met you before you were working with the farm. So it's feeding you in ways that, And
I couldn't have foreseen it.
No.
I knew that I wanted to grow more.
Yeah.
But I couldn't have even imagined that there was this farm that I didn't know about with this beautiful soil and beautiful, it's just gorgeous there. And, just from doing that, well, I guess, going to BNI and, these one-to-ones do pay off. And getting to do that program at the library and having that, I couldn't have seen it. It happened, and it was, just doing what you love, really, the rest will fall into place. It really will.
It does find a way. Life finds a way to work it out for you.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
So how can people get a hold of you?
So Rebecca at newhallfieldscommunityfarm.org, or my 2 businesses, palmerpond.com, RebeccaIngalls.com.
All righty.
Okay.
Lovely. And we will make sure those links are in the show notes for folks.
Oh, that is swell. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being with us today.
So much my pleasure.
And as always,
put a nerve on it.
This is our last show for the first half of 2021. We're taking our annual summer hiatus break. This year, the Practical Herbalist team will be working on a couple of new offerings and making updates to the website. We'll be back talking herbs in August. Until then, we hope you get into the garden, play with some plants, and make a little herbal delight. The statements made about herbs and products on this podcast have not been evaluated by the United States Food and Drug Administration, FDA. They're not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. All information provided on this podcast or any affiliated websites is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for advice from your physician or other healthcare professional. You should not use the information on this podcast and its affiliated websites for a diagnosis or treatment of any health problem. Always consult with a healthcare professional before starting any new vitamins, supplements, diet, or exercise program before taking any medication, or if you have or suspect you might have a health problem. Any testimonials, questions, or case studies are based on individual results and do not constitute a guarantee that you will achieve the same results.